So first we're going to look at Jacob and Jacob's passing and his funeral, and I want you to see a few things. We're going to make some observations about dying and funerals based on these verses. You're going to help me. But let's look at Genesis chapter 48 and the first two verses. You're there in your Bible, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometime later, Joseph was told, your father is ill. Who was his father? Jacob. Okay, one person was listening to me. Okay, yes, his father was Jacob. Your father is ill. So he took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, along with him. When Jacob was told, your son Joseph has come to you, Israel, which was his other name, remember, given to him by God, rallied his strength and sat up on the bed. Now, skip down to verse 8. When Israel saw the sons of Joseph, he asked, who are these? They are the sons God has given me here, Joseph said to his father. Then Israel said, bring them to me so I may bless them. Now, when I punctuate a word like that, when I give it some extra emphasis, what do you suppose that means? It's good. It's going to be important, yes. Skip down to verse 15. Same passage, same event. Then he blessed Joseph and said, may the God before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, walked faithfully, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, the angel who has delivered me from all harm, may he bless these boys. May they be called by my name and the names of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and may they increase greatly on the earth. Are you starting to see a theme here? Skip down to verse 20. He blessed them that day and said, in your name will Israel pronounce this blessing. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Look at chapter 49 and verse 28. And this is after all the sons were brought to him, one by one, after he's called for them. It says in verse 28, all these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. Okay. After this, Jacob dies. We're now in chapter 50. I want you to see what happens after he dies, verses 7 through 10 in chapter 50. So Joseph went up to bury his father. All Pharaoh's officials accompanied him, the dignitaries of his court, and all the dignitaries of Egypt, besides all the members of Joseph's household and his brothers and those belonging to his father's household. Only their children and their flocks and herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large company. This is a funeral procession, okay? Verse 10, when they reached the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan, they lamented loudly and bitterly. And there Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his father. Talk about a long funeral. 7 days of mourning. And then skip down to verse 14. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt together with his brothers and all the others who had gone with him to bury his father. With what you've just read about the passing of this great man, the namesake of his nation, what are some observations we can make about dying and funerals based on these verses? Just throw out some things that you noticed, and one should be really obvious. If you let me down, I may just end now and walk outside and weep. Yeah.
It has something to do with blessing.
Something to do with blessing. We feel like that's what you're hinting at, Pastor. Something to do with blessing. Keep going. What is that something? What's that? He blessed his children and his grandchildren. Why is this important and why is this appropriate?
It's necessary. I had a client whose main issue was that her mother never said anything nice to her before she died. She was angry with her and she never made up before she died. It's important.
So you're saying even to death, she never received
Right.
positive affirmation or
Right.
blessing of any kind.
And it didn't heal, you know.
Gosh,
There
I am
was
so
no
sorry
way
to hear
for it
that.
to heal.
How much would that have done for that woman if her mother had blessed
Yeah.
her, made peace, apologized, whatever it is before
Right.
she passed? How much would that have helped that woman? Mm.
You know, we used to keep people at home. Not my generation, but my grandparents' generation.
Okay.
Nearly all of them died in the home, and the family came in, and there was such a time of last words. You know, when you sterilize death, sometimes you don't get those, the last words, or that blessing, or an opportunity.
Can everyone hear what Nancy is saying? Because this is so good, and maybe it's something that we've lost.
Yes, I do think. I know when my dad, I knew my father put himself on hospice,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave me a chance to call the family and some of his friends and say, you know, it's coming soon if you want to see Daddy. And so I had the great privilege of sitting quietly, quietly, and watching these people bless Daddy.
Yes.
And him bless them. It
Yes.
was really an amazing thing, and I thought I guess that's what they used to do at the home, because
Yes.
we went through a time where everybody died in the ICU and nobody could be with them.
Yes. This is a wonderful and human thing to do. It's cathartic
Yes.
for everybody. And in many cases in our culture, and I've seen it, that we somehow want to separate the dying from the rest of the world now. And it's okay. Assisted living is okay, and even hospice care, and even off-site, hospice house is okay. That's okay. But this idea of the family intentionally going to see a person before they die, that's so important for everybody, for the dying and for the family. But here's what I hear in so many cases. Well, I don't want to remember him that way. And so the children and the grandchildren don't go to see this person who has been this person who is actually the reason for their existence.
Yeah.
They will not see them because I don't want to remember them that way. Well, you know what? Get over it.
That's good.
Go make the visit and do the loving thing. You won't only remember them that way. It's important for you. It's important for them. If you love them, you go, you see them, you bless them, they bless you.
And it's a blessing to you if you get to see them go.
It is absolutely, yeah. And maybe not everybody can handle quite that, but you're right. There is something very precious about that. But I see many people who are very lonely at the end. And when I say lonely, I mean lonely to their very last second. No one is with them when they pass. And I think that's a travesty.
That was one of the sins of COVID.
It was. It was. Nancy, we didn't have anybody die of COVID directly in our church, in our entire church family.
Oh, wow.
But we did have one lady die of a broken heart.
Yeah.
That she was so social and needed people, and she was in assisted living and could only see people through a glass. And her sister said, that's what did it. She needed someone to touch her, someone to talk to her in the room, and it wasn't allowed.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Another thing I want you to notice is they did not rush through it. That there is this idea, and it is increasingly evident among secular people. We need to real quick get them in the ground and ignore it. And it's okay to take time. It's okay to take time to plan, to grieve. Someone was here, and now they're in glory. Can you imagine a 7-day funeral? But grieving was accepted, and we try to minimize grieving now. And we tell people to get past it, to medicate, whatever it is.
Families separate so much and go far from one another, and so it just seems like it's an inconvenience to.
I'm sorry that his death was inconvenient to you.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's
Yeah.
just the way people see it.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't have the beauty of what they did back then too.
Yes.
Some cultures know how to grieve.
Oh, some are better than others.
They
You're
yell
right.
and cry, and I
Yes.
think that's great.
It is. Because you need to. You need to be able to express it. Because what happens, counselor, if you don't? If you don't have a chance to grieve?
You just swallow it.
Leech up.
Yeah. It becomes something negative. Bitterness, resentment, guilt.
Yeah,
all
that
the
does.
above.
Yeah.
Both of my parents, we ended up having in-house hospice come for both of them. They were able to stay at home, but one of the ladies from hospice was like, don't be so quick to get rid of everything. Some people like pack everything up the next day and then they're like, I don't have that shirt, I don't have that smell, I don't have, and she was like, you just need to sit in it.
Yes.
Like, you know it's coming, but when it happens, it's still like a shock to
Yes.
a certain extent. But you have to take that time to work through things.
Wise counsel. Don't rush it. Don't rush through your grief. Allow yourself time. And here's another thing, and we'll move on here just in 1 second. But it talked about weeping loudly. You know, grief. Different people handle grief in different ways. Grief affects different people in different ways. And over time, you think you're over it, and then all of a sudden it hits you again, and sometimes at very inopportune times. You know, that 3 months, 6 months have passed, and you think, well, I'm better now, and all of a sudden you're in the grocery store, walking through the frozen food section, and a song comes on grocery store radio, and you're brought to tears, and I thought I was healed, I thought it was okay. Guess what? This is normal.
Grief does not have good manners.
It does not have good manners.
It doesn't make an appointment.
No, it can come in waves, and even as those waves get further and further apart, it'll sometimes catch you at very unexpected times. And you know what that means?
You loved them.
You loved them. You loved them. What would happen if someone close to you died and you didn't feel anything at all? What does that make you? A robot, right?
AI.
Grief is good and necessary and human, and it reveals the love that you had for them. And so even a year, 2 years down the road, it catches you suddenly, and you got that lump in your throat you didn't expect. It's okay. It's okay. So let's talk about funerals. On your sheet, a funeral is a ceremony of proven worth and value for those who mourn. It provides an opportunity for the survivors and others who share in the loss to express their love, respect, grief, and appreciation for the deceased. Through the funeral, the bereaved take that first step toward emotional adjustment to their loss. Even though common sense and good discretion are always the best guides to proper funeral etiquette, a few principles still apply. And here it is. I'm going to talk to you about some things, and you may say, I know that. That's common sense. You know, there are times, and I've got about 5 books rolling around in my head that I wish I could put on paper, but one of them is Uncommon Sense. You know, there's some things that you just think are common sense, and you just watch people violate these things on a daily basis. There are some people, this is going to shock you, they've got no common sense. None at all. None at all. So as I talk through these things, say, well, of course that's obvious. Listen, it's not obvious to everybody. First of all, at the wake, viewing, or funeral, wear conservative clothing with subdued or darker hues. I have seen some people wear some things at funerals, goodness sakes, and especially young people. Like, what were you thinking when you put that on?
Well, there was a man in our church in Texas, and his last request about his funeral was that women would all wear red hats, and that there would be a big covered dish luncheon after.
That's fine if that's what he expressed he wanted. Yes. But if that wasn't expressed by the deceased, just go safe side here,
It was
okay?
interesting, though.
You don't necessarily have to wear a coat or a tie or a dress, but do be conservative and do go subdued, darker hues. Do, when you go through the line, introduce yourself to family members you don't know, because they're just seeing a whole bunch of people and they don't know the connections. They don't know the connections. But when you walk through, you know, I am, Skylar, and I was their daughter's pastor. I am their daughter's pastor. You know, oh, okay. Do let, you know, there's some connection there. There's some reason why you're there. Do identify yourself. Do express sympathy. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I walk in. I have no idea what to say. If you don't know what to say, I'm going to give you a magic phrase right now. Are you ready? This will cover everything. This is everything you ever wanted to know.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for your loss. That's what goes in the blank.
Don't say.
I'm sorry for your loss.
That's right.
That's all you need. Secret code, polite, appropriate, heartfelt. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm so-and-so. I'm Bob. I was his friend. We worked together. I'm sorry for your loss. Move on. You want to say more? Okay, I'll give you an out here. Relate to family members your fond memories of the deceased. It's okay to share a story if it's very brief in the line. If you have a whole bunch of people, do respect the time. But, I'm Bob. I'm sorry for your loss. Listen, there was that one time he had a flat tire in the rain. We were out there together. We were both mad as could be. But you know what? We ended up laughing about it later. I'll always remember that time.
Yeah.
That's nice. Because you've introduced a part of their life that the family did not know. A memory that they can hold. Something positive. It's okay to do that. Do view the deceased if the body is present and the casket is open. Do sign the register to let them know that you were there. And then do visit with others in attendance.
Why do you say do view the deceased?
It's part of the process. You don't have to sit there and linger over it, but do pass by. This is what the line is supposed to do. You're there as a guest. Do what guests are supposed to do. Don't touch the deceased. Don't do these things. Again, you think this is common sense? Seriously, people do this. Don't inquire as to the cause of death. Don't ask a family member. Don't. Well, tell me what I heard it was this. Was it a stroke or a heart? Don't do that. Not appropriate. You may have an insatiable curiosity about morbid things. Don't let it come out at the wake, the visitation, the funeral. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. Why do you need to know? Are you a doctor? You don't need to know.
You could say something like, I thought he'd live forever. What happened?
No.
Particularly under the don'ts.
Yeah. Nancy, you can write a Sanford statement under the don'ts. Yeah. Again, and people do this, and I wish they did. Don't be silent because you don't know what to say. I've given you what to say now. You move through, you shake hands, they stare at you, they don't know who you are or why you're there. Don't be silent. Listen, they don't want to be there either. They just lost somebody. Think about that. Not your own awkward social tendencies. Don't feel like you're intruding. Should I go? Should I not go? If you're even asking the question, you should probably go. They want to know that their loved one was indeed a loved one. And don't send condolences via email. Don't do that. Don't do that. And maybe someday, 20 years down the road, that'll be appropriate. This is not that day. If you're not able to attend, send a note or a card to the deceased family expressing your thoughts of the deceased. In place of a note, a phone call is appropriate. Either write the card and mail it with a stamp or make a phone call. Don't send a text either. These things may be convenient in how young people communicate. It's still not the appropriate way to do it. They're not going to receive it well. Thoughts, comments, questions about that?
Don't say he's in a better place.
No. I mean, you've probably gone too far. That feels trite in some way.
To them, the better place is home and in good shape.
Yeah. Another one, Lida, that you don't probably need to say is, well, this was God's will.
Yeah.
That feels incredibly insulting in the moment.
Right.
Like that.
As best as I can tell, I became a senior pastor at 26 years old, and I probably averaged one funeral a month for my entire ministry. I'm 50 now. Do the math, I've done somewhere between 250 and 300 funerals. That's a lot. That's a lot of funerals. So I want to share with you a couple of stories here that you might enjoy. I did a funeral by accident one time. Didn't plan on it. I showed up as a guest at a funeral. Rose Hill, David, you know the neighborhood. Showed up as a guest. I was going for one of my members. Her sister had passed away. I had met the sister maybe one time, and it was just briefly. She had attended church for a holiday or something. And I'm sitting there in the sanctuary 1 minute till the funeral is supposed to begin, and someone comes up to me and says, "The pastor isn't here who's supposed to do the service. Can you do it?" Tell me her name again. Oh, Lord, help me. And I had about a minute and a half to collect my thoughts. And of course, you know, as I say, a funeral is for the living and not for the dead. So I couldn't say anything about her life or who she was. I shared the gospel, you know, and that God has provided a way for everybody to be with Him. But, man, that was weird to, again, do one by accident.
Drop by funeral.
Yeah, preachers are supposed to be always ready to preach or pray. You know, you just never know. Yeah, you have to show up.
That's a pretty rural area, too.
Yes. So, found out later, the pastor was bivocational and they had a shutdown at the mill. He wasn't able to escape. He knew where he needed to be, but he wasn't allowed to leave. So,
Wow.
he apologized later. I said, "You can take me to lunch and make up for it." Other issues. Should children attend a funeral? Listen, I've got some opinions about this, having been in officiating. I mean, and when I say 250 to 300, that's not all the ones I've attended either. You know, it depends on a lot of things. The child's age, the child's maturity, their relationship to the person who passed away. There are some good reasons for children to attend. It can help them to understand that death is a part of life, that it's not a scary thing or a weird thing, that this is just part of what it is. It can help them to feel very included in the family. You know, that might be important depending on their age. It can be very meaningful to them. But with that said, there are also reasons why children maybe shouldn't, why a child shouldn't attend. It might be at a certain age very emotional, very distressing to them. It might be very confusing. If a child is 3, 4, 5 years old and they still believe in unicorns, probably doesn't help them to attend a funeral. They don't need to understand death at that age. Eventually they will. Eventually they will. You take a child and a child doesn't want to be there and a child is not in a state and it's their nap time, guess what that child's going to do? Distract. It might be better for everybody else if the child does not attend. The worst scenario I've seen, and for some reason this is like a gruff man and a male child, that they want to drag them and they want them to experience every bit of it, and they'll even say, "Touch grandmommy, touch her, touch her," and they'll make the child touch the deceased in the open casket. And to me, that's almost bordering on abuse. The child doesn't need to touch a dead body to understand that death is a real thing. You know, let the child, you know, again, you make good decisions. They don't have to attend. They're going to get it at some point. For some, there may be value. For some, no value at all.
No.
None at all.
And
None.
today, they see people die on TV and then show up the next day in a different program alive. So kids get confused with that.
Yeah. And if you are bringing a child, you're not sure how it's going to go, sometimes it's great to have a trusted adult who can then step out with the child if needed.
Right.
We'll see how this goes. If it doesn't go, it'll be okay. We'll make other arrangements. I don't know that children are the only ones who have questions about death or misperceptions. I was at a burial after a funeral in Woodruff, and this lady, I didn't even know her, but senior lady pulled me aside after the burial, and she said, "My plot is right over there." And I said, good. And she said, "It's going to be a great view." How do you think this works? Because she had up on the hill, great view.
That's Woodruff for you.
Oh, okay.
We're from Woodruff, so it's okay to say that.
It might be a great view at your graveside service for others, but you're in one of two places, and even if you weren't in the ground, anyway, I didn't want to correct her. It wasn't my church member. It wasn't my church member. People, is it appropriate to take pictures? In general, no. No. Unless you are family, no. People today, they want to take pictures of everything to show that they've been there, put it on social media right away. You're at a funeral, don't do it. You can get permission from the family if you want, if there's something important, a picture that you want to take, maybe a flower arrangement that you sent. Right. But ask the family if it's okay. Always, in this case, err on the side of caution. It is not okay, even in this day and age, to pull out the phone and take pictures during the service or during, don't do that. Longest funeral that I ever participated in, 2.5 hours.
Oh my.
I was the 5th preacher on the schedule.
Were you the last?
Yes.
Oh dear.
At least you got to.
The deceased was a trustee at Charleston Southern University, and she wanted all these people to come, including the president of the university, to speak. And these other 4 preachers each gave about 25 to 30 minutes.
Oh my word.
And I was the last.
How long did you go?
About 5.
Okay.
I wanted to do right by them because they asked me, but by that time, people were past done. And anything that I said was going to be
Did you just
of no
do the
value.
benediction?
Wow. I loved her. She great. Let's pray and close.
Good.
It was amazing. I know the family was trying to honor her, but that was too long. That was too long. Should I send flowers or make a memorial contribution? A little guidance on that. Again, to err on the side of caution, the best thing you can do is make a memorial contribution. Most people in the obituary are going to say, send memorials made to this or this or this. And so, is it okay to send flowers? It is. It can complicate things a little bit, especially if you don't know if it's out of town or whatnot. If you're dealing with a group you've never dealt with, just hoping that it gets there on time and to the right address. You might need some guidance from the family if you're going to do that. But best case is always to make the memorial contribution. It's easy. The family appreciates it. They've asked for it. And many, many times now you'll read, in lieu of flowers, make a donation to this. You know that you're respecting the family's wishes. I officiated a Catholic funeral one time. Strangest thing, I wasn't allowed to be on the stage.
Right.
Because I'm not a priest. I'm only a Baptist preacher. And so they did their Catholic things from the stage, and then I was called up to stand in the front on the ground and do the eulogy from there. My church secretary, she was a Catholic, receptionist, I should say. And her husband passed away, and she wanted me to do the service. But I was only allowed in a certain part. And so you know what I did? What I was supposed to do. I didn't object. I didn't get upset with anybody. They asked me to do this. This is what I did. Because in the funeral situation, it's always important that the family gets what they want. We respect their wishes. Oh, big question. This has come up a lot. A lot. Is cremation spiritually permissible? Because you may have grown up in a day and time in which it was not, and it was frowned upon, and people were worried about the resurrection, and would the Lord be able to find you? Let me tell you, as best as I can determine, the Bible is neutral on this, okay? It is okay. The Lord will be able to find you in the last day, I promise. In fact, the Revelation even talks about the sea giving up its dead.
Right.
Guess how much of your body the Lord needs to resurrect you? This much. If there's any matter anywhere, God can do it. He can make a resurrection body from that. He does not need you to be whole in a box in a cemetery, okay? Whatever you decide is okay for you and your family as long as everyone is in agreement. Let me just run this by you, and I don't know if you've thought about this. Right now, the costs are so different. Average cremation cost between $1,000 and $4,000. And here's what's built into that. The cremation is between $1,000 and $2,500. You have a memorial service, you're going to add another $1,000 or $2,000. The urn can cost anywhere from $50 to $500, depending on how exorbitant you want it to be. So
And
cremate.
it's going in the dirt. If it's going in the dirt, what difference does it make?
Well, because some people keep the urn,
Okay.
you know, and they put it in their home. Between $1,000 and $4,000. You know what the a funeral costs right now? Between $7,000 and $12,000. Between $7,000 and $12,000. The service itself is between $2,000 and $4,000. The casket between $2,000 and $5,000. Burial plot between $1,000 and $4,000. Just to open and close the grave between $500 and $1,000. Headstone or marker between $1,000 and $3,000. So if you're looking at a difference between $1,000 and $7,000 or $4,000 and $12,000, huge difference in cost in this day and age. Again, God will be able to find you no matter where you end. Think about all those Christians burned at the stake, you know, back in the day.
What about all the people in the 9/11 towers that
There,
they were
that.
cremated?
What about the astronauts that blew up as they were going into space? You know, God doesn't need a whole lot. It's not like God says, "Oh my goodness, they were cremated. What are? I need a conference with the angels. We need, this is unprecedented. I don't know how to. We're going to lose this one. We're going to lose this one." God is not thrown off by anything that a family chooses to do with a body. I promise you that. There's no spiritual reason why you cannot be cremated.